What I'm about to tell you might change the way you see your nights forever, especially if you're over 50, because waking up in the middle of the night isn't always just aging, and it's definitely not always harmless. In fact, one very specific pattern of waking up could be your heart quietly crying for help, long before a heart attack ever strikes. Most people ignore it. They turn over, sip some water, maybe blame stress, and go back to sleep. But what if that moment, that exact way you wake up, is actually your body's early warning system? Doctors have been noticing something disturbing. A growing number of patients who suffer cardiac events report the same unusual nighttime symptom in the weeks, or even months, before it happens. And here's the frightening part. It doesn't feel like a heart problem. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 6 specific nighttime warning signs that could mean your heart is under serious strain. We'll start from the subtle ones and move toward the most dangerous signal of all. And number 1 is something most people completely dismiss until it's too late. Before we begin, I want you to do something simple. Tell me your age in the comments below, because after 50, your heart behaves differently. Your risks change, and the same symptoms suddenly mean something much more serious. Now, let's start with something that seems harmless, but isn't. Number 6, you wake up suddenly with a pounding or racing heartbeat. Not from a nightmare, not from noise, just out of nowhere. Your eyes open, and your chest feels like it's beating harder than it should. Maybe faster, maybe irregular. You lie there, waiting for it to calm down, telling yourself it's anxiety. But here's what most people don't realize. This could be a condition called nocturnal arrhythmia. At night, your body is supposed to slow down. Your heart rate drops, blood pressure lowers. Everything enters a recovery state. But if your heart suddenly starts racing while you're asleep, it may signal an electrical instability in the heart itself. Studies show that people over 50 who experience nighttime heart rhythm disturbances have up to a 40% higher risk of developing serious cardiovascular conditions, including atrial fibrillation and stroke. And it often begins quietly, like this. There was a man named Khalid, 58 years old, healthy by most standards, no major symptoms, just occasional nighttime awakenings with a strong heartbeat. He ignored it for months, until one morning, he woke up dizzy, his pulse completely irregular. He was later diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, a condition that significantly increases stroke risk. His doctor told him something he'll never forget. Your body was warning you at night. You just didn't recognize the signal. Here's why this happens more often as you age. The electrical system of your heart becomes more sensitive over time. Add in factors like high blood pressure, mild artery stiffness, or even dehydration, and your heart can misfire when your body is supposed to be resting. So what should you do if this happens to you? First, don't ignore the pattern. If it happens more than once a week, you need to pay attention. Start by checking your pulse when you wake up. Is it irregular? Skipping? Too fast? Reduce stimulants in the evening, especially caffeine, even hidden sources like tea or chocolate. Magnesium-rich foods before bed can help stabilize heart rhythm. Think leafy greens, almonds, or bananas. And here's a powerful synergy tip. Combine proper hydration with deep, slow breathing when you wake up like this. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6. This activates your vagus nerve, helping your heart return to a stable rhythm faster. Because sometimes, that racing heart isn't panic. It's your heart struggling to stay in control. Now let's move to something even more deceptive. Number 5. You wake up, not because of your chest, but because you suddenly feel short of breath. You sit up, maybe even gasp slightly. It feels like you weren't getting enough air. Within a minute or two, it passes. So you dismiss it. Maybe you think it's a bad sleeping position. Maybe acid reflux. Maybe just one of those things. But this could be something far more serious. It's called paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, and it's strongly linked to heart function. Here's what's happening inside your body. When you lie down, fluid in your body redistributes. If your heart isn't pumping efficiently, something that becomes more common after 50, that fluid can start to accumulate in your lungs. Not enough to wake you immediately, but enough to slowly interfere with your breathing, until suddenly, your body jolts you awake, gasping for air. This isn't random. It's your body trying to save you. One large clinical study found that nearly 67% of patients diagnosed with early-stage heart failure reported nighttime breathlessness before any daytime symptoms appeared. Think about that. Before fatigue, before swelling, before chest pain. This was the first sign. There was a woman named Farzana, 62. She thought she had developed anxiety. She would wake up at night feeling like she couldn't breathe. It terrified her, but since it went away quickly, she never told her doctor. Months later, she was hospitalized with heart failure. When doctors reviewed her history, they pinpointed those nighttime episodes as the earliest warning sign. The tragedy? They were completely reversible at that stage, but they were ignored. As you age, your heart's ability to handle fluid changes becomes weaker. Add in high salt intake, mild hypertension, or even being slightly overweight, and your heart may start struggling silently at night, long before you feel anything during the day. So what can you do? First, elevate your head slightly when you sleep. This reduces fluid pressure on your lungs. Second, avoid heavy meals and excess salt in the evening. Third, pay attention to frequency. If this happens even twice a month, it's not random. You need a cardiac checkup. And here's the synergy tip most people overlook. Pair light evening walks, just 10 to 15 minutes, with early dinner timing. This improves circulation and reduces nighttime fluid buildup dramatically. Because when your body wakes you up gasping, that's not inconvenience. That's a signal, a warning, a moment your heart is saying, I can't keep up, and we're only getting started. The next sign is even more subtle and far more dangerous because almost nobody associates it with the heart. Stay with me. Now, number 4. You wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. Not because it's hot, not because of heavy blankets. This is different. Your clothes feel damp. Your neck, your chest, even your palms are sweating. And there's a strange sense of unease. Not full panic, but something feels off. Most people blame hormones. Or maybe a bad dream they can't remember. But this type of night sweating can be linked to something far more serious. Your heart struggling under stress. Here's what's happening inside your body. When your heart isn't getting enough oxygen, often due to partially blocked arteries, it activates your sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight response. Even while you're asleep, your body releases stress hormones like adrenaline, your heart works harder, and your sweat glands activate as if you're in danger. Because biologically you are. A study published in Cardiovascular Medicine found that unexplained night sweats in adults over 50 were associated with a 45% higher likelihood of underlying coronary artery disease. And most people had no idea. There was a retired teacher named Imran, 64. Every few nights, he would wake up sweating heavily. He thought it was just aging, maybe something hormonal. But one night, the sweating came with a slight pressure in his chest. He ignored it and went back to sleep. 2 weeks later, he had a mild heart attack. Doctors later explained that his nighttime sweating episodes were early ischemic signals, his heart not getting enough blood flow. Here's why this risk increases after 50. Your arteries naturally stiffen with age. Plaque buildup becomes more likely, even if you feel fine. At night, your blood pressure fluctuates. If there's even a partial blockage, your heart may struggle to maintain oxygen supply, and your body reacts with stress signals like sweating. So what should you do? First, never ignore repeated night sweats that feel unusual or excessive, especially if they're not linked to room temperature or obvious causes. Second, monitor for patterns. Does it happen at the same time each night, after certain meals, along with mild discomfort? Third, support your cardiovascular system in the evening. Avoid heavy, fatty meals before bed. Focus on heart-friendly foods, like vegetables rich in nitrates, such as spinach or beets. And here's a powerful synergy tip. Combine a warm shower before bed with a cool, sleeping environment. This helps regulate your body's temperature and reduces stress on your cardiovascular system during sleep. Because when your body sweats without reason at night, it may not be heat, it may be distress. Now let's move to something even quieter, but deeply connected to your heart. Number 3, you wake up with a strange discomfort in your jaw, neck, or upper back. Not sharp pain, not something that makes you panic, just a dull, spreading ache. You shift your position, maybe stretch a little, and eventually it fades, so you forget about it. But this is one of the most commonly missed warning signs of heart trouble, especially in people over 50. Here's why. The nerves that supply your heart also connect to other areas of your body, like your jaw, neck, shoulders, and back. So when your heart is under stress, your brain doesn't always interpret it as chest pain. Instead, it sends the signal somewhere else. This is called referred pain, and it becomes more common with age. In fact, research shows that nearly 30% of heart attack patients over 55 experience no classic chest pain at all. Instead, they report discomfort in areas like the jaw or upper back, often during rest or sleep. There was a man named Tariq, 61. He started waking up at night with a dull ache in his left shoulder and neck. He assumed it was his pillow or maybe muscle stiffness. He even changed mattresses, but the discomfort kept coming back. Weeks later, he collapsed at home. It was a heart attack. Doctors later confirmed that those nighttime aches were early angina, reduced blood flow to the heart. His body had been signaling for help. But the message was misunderstood. As you age, your pain perception changes. Your nerves don't always send clear, localized signals, and your brain is more likely to misinterpret cardiac distress as something musculoskeletal. That's why this symptom is so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a heart problem. So what can you do? First, pay attention to patterns. If you repeatedly wake up with discomfort in the same area, especially the jaw, neck, or upper back, don't dismiss it. Second, notice timing. Does it happen during the early morning hours? That's when many cardiac events begin. Third, get evaluated. A simple stress test or ECG can reveal issues before they become emergencies. And here's a critical synergy tip. Combine posture correction during sleep with regular daytime movement. Poor circulation and nerve compression can amplify these signals, but improving blood flow and alignment can reduce both false alarms and real risk. Because sometimes your heart doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you don't recognize the language, you miss the warning. Now, before we move to the final two signs, the ones most strongly linked to life-threatening events, I want to pause for a moment. If anything you've heard so far feels familiar, don't brush it aside. Your body is incredibly intelligent. It doesn't create symptoms without reason. And the earlier you recognize these signals, the more power you have to prevent something serious. If you're finding this information helpful, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because the more you understand your body, the better decisions you can make starting tonight. And if you know someone over 50, a parent, a sibling, a friend, share this with them. It could help them recognize a warning they didn't even know existed. Now, let's move to number 2. This one is more intense, more alarming, and far more urgent. You wake up suddenly with a feeling of pressure or tightness in your chest. Not sharp pain, not stabbing, but a heavy, squeezing sensation, like something is sitting on your chest. At first, it's mild. You try to ignore it. You shift your position. Take a deep breath. But something feels wrong. This is not something you should ever dismiss, because this could be nocturnal angina, a direct warning sign that your heart is not receiving enough blood. Here's what's happening. During sleep, your heart still needs a steady supply of oxygen. But if your coronary arteries are narrowed, even partially, blood flow can drop below what your heart needs, especially during certain sleep stages. This creates a mismatch. Your heart is working, but not getting enough oxygen, and that creates pressure. A large-scale study found that individuals who experience nighttime chest pressure have a significantly higher risk, up to 70%, of experiencing a cardiac event within the next 12 months if left untreated. This is not a small signal. There was a man named Rashid, 67. He woke up one night with a heavy feeling in his chest. It lasted about 3 minutes. Then it went away. He told himself it was indigestion, but it happened again the next week. And again. Each time, he ignored it. Until one night, it didn't go away. He was rushed to the hospital with a major heart attack. Doctors later told his family something chilling. He had multiple warning episodes. His heart was asking for help. Here's why this becomes more dangerous after 50. Plaque buildup in your arteries doesn't happen overnight. It develops slowly. And by the time symptoms appear, especially at night, it often means the blockage has reached a critical level. So what should you do? First, never ignore chest pressure that wakes you from sleep, even if it goes away. Second, note the duration. If it lasts more than a minute or two, or keeps returning, it needs immediate attention. Third, reduce nighttime strain on your heart. Avoid late-night eating. Limit alcohol. And manage stress before bed. And here's the most important synergy tip of all. If you ever wake up with chest pressure, sit upright, stay calm, and seek medical help immediately. Do not lie back down and wait it out, because in that moment, minutes matter, Your heart is not just uncomfortable, it's under threat. And what comes next is the most dangerous sign of all. Now, number one. This is the one most people never see coming. You wake up suddenly, not from pain, not from discomfort, but from a deep, overwhelming sense of dread. Your heart may not be racing. Your chest may not hurt, but something feels terribly wrong. It's hard to explain. A quiet panic. A heavy, sinking feeling in your chest or stomach. Almost like your body knows something your mind doesn't. Many people describe it the same way. I just felt like something bad was about to happen. And then they try to shake it off. They drink water, sit up, maybe walk around. Eventually, the feeling fades, so they go back to bed. But what they don't realize is that this may be one of the most serious cardiac warning signs your body can give you. Because this feeling, this sudden, unexplained sense of doom, has been clinically linked to acute cardiac events. It's not imagination, it's physiology. Here's what's happening inside your body. When your heart is under severe stress, especially when blood flow becomes critically reduced, your nervous system reacts instantly. But instead of sending clear pain signals, it triggers a surge of stress hormones. Adrenaline, cortisol. Your brain receives an emergency message, but it doesn't always translate it into physical pain. Instead, it creates an emotional alarm, a feeling of imminent danger. This phenomenon has been documented in emergency medicine for decades. Patients who later suffer heart attacks often report this exact sensation hours, or even minutes, before the event. A sudden, unexplainable feeling that something is deeply wrong. There was a woman named Shanaz, 59. She woke up one night with a strange feeling. No pain, no breathlessness, just a heavy sense of dread. She sat on the edge of her bed, holding her chest, not because it hurt, but because it felt uneasy. She almost went back to sleep. But something told her not to. She woke her son and asked him to take her to the hospital. By the time they arrived, doctors confirmed she was in the early stages of a heart attack. They told her something that likely saved her life. If you had gone back to sleep, you might not have woken up. That's how serious this is. And here's why it becomes more common and more dangerous after 50. As your cardiovascular system ages, your body's warning signals can become less direct. You may not feel sharp pain. You may not experience dramatic symptoms. Instead, your body uses subtler, but more urgent, signals. Like this one, a feeling, an instinct, a sudden awareness that something is not right. The danger is most people ignore it. They rationalize it. They tell themselves it's anxiety, stress, nothing serious. But your body doesn't create that level of alarm without cause. So what should you do if this happens to you? First, trust the feeling. If you wake up with a sudden, intense sense of dread, especially if you're over 50, do not ignore it. Sit upright. Stay alert. Second, check your body. Is there any subtle pressure? Any discomfort? Any change in breathing or pulse? Even the smallest sign matters. Third, act immediately. Call for help. Wake someone. Get to a hospital. Do not wait for pain to confirm it, because by the time pain arrives, it may already be too late. And here's the most powerful synergy tip of all. Start listening to your body during the day, not just at night. If you build awareness of how you normally feel, you'll recognize abnormal signals faster. Your body speaks in patterns, and when that pattern breaks, it's trying to protect you, not scare you. Now take a moment and think about everything we've just covered. The racing heart, the breathlessness, the night sweats, the strange aches, the chest pressure, and now this feeling. None of these symptoms are random. None of them are just aging. They are signals, early warnings, opportunities. Because the truth is, heart disease doesn't usually strike without notice. It whispers first, at night, when everything is quiet, when you're most vulnerable. And most people sleep right through the warning. But you don't have to. You can recognize these signs. You can act early. You can protect your heart before it reaches a breaking point. There is power in awareness. There is life in prevention. And there is still time, starting tonight, to make changes that could save your life. Eat lighter in the evening. Move your body daily, even if it's just a short walk. Manage your stress before bed. Stay hydrated. And most importantly, listen, because your body is always communicating with you. The question is, will you pay attention? If this video opened your eyes, even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about. A parent, a friend, a spouse, someone who might be waking up at night and not realizing what it means. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Because the more you understand your body, the more control you have over your future. We're here to help you stay informed, stay aware, and stay alive. Your heart is working for you every second of your life. Make sure you're working for it too. Tonight, when you go to sleep, you'll know what to listen for. And that awareness could be the difference between waking up tomorrow or not.